Jake from TVG back, and today I'm interviewing Bob, and he is the world's most famous, most inspirational announcer. He makes an impact on so many people's lives today. So Bob, what makes you a great announcer? What do you think?
Well, actually, I'm not that much of an announcer. More of my radio show and our breakfast show. And I think anytime you interview people, the most important aspect to understand is you have to have a genuine interest.
Yeah.
You can't just want to say, "Oh, I'd like to do an interview." It's what is it about this person that I want to know? Because if you find out what you want to know, usually your viewer will go, "Oh, that was really cool." Like today, I'm interviewing a guy named Tyler Butterfield, who's one of the pros from Bermuda. And the cool thing, when I was doing some research, his dad finished 7th in this race back in 1981. And last year, he finished 7th in this race. So he and his dad both did the same race, lots of years apart, and his dad did the same place he did. So I thought that was pretty cool. That'll be something that, that made you smile a little bit. It's something that takes, rather than just thinking about you swim, you bike, you run, that stuff can get sort of dull. What's the human side of it? What makes something interesting? What makes a story? We're storytellers at the end of the day.
Awesome, right? Honestly, yeah, you gotta really be into what you do as an interview, and you're such a good speaker, because I can tell by your voice. Like, is there anyone that inspires you to do what you do?
You know what inspires me is the athletes I get to interview, and with our Challenged Athletes Foundation over the years, we've had so many different folks who inspired us because they were dealt with. They lost a leg, they were paralyzed, but none of that stopped them. All that did was give them a reason to challenge the perceptions of what they could accomplish with their body. The body was different than it had been before, but they looked at it, and all of them went through trauma and went through a little bit of depression, but once they found sport, they realized that they can be, maybe their life's in a different direction, but maybe it's a better direction. Some of them never thought they'd be Olympic athletes. Next thing you know, they're going to the Paralympics and they're winning gold medals, and they're changing their life forever, even though they're missing a leg, even though they're in a chair. So from my perspective, what motivates me is people who motivate themselves.
Yeah. Awesome, that's a really good answer. One final question.
Yeah.
What is your hardest circumstance for an interview? What was your hardest?
Well, the hardest circumstance for an interview is if you're chatting with somebody who just doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Maybe they're rushed, they got something going on. What makes an interview work is when somebody really is interested in having a conversation.
Yeah.
You can't have a one-sided conversation. I can't just ask you questions and you go yes, no. If we're having a conversation, it's almost like when you're doing an interview, you want it to feel like you and I are sitting here on a curb having a conversation. There's no camera, there's nobody watching, and we're interested in each other. We're interested in finding out what makes you tick. What made you decide to do your own podcast? What made you decide to do something that maybe other kids your age aren't doing?
Yeah.
That to me is interesting, and people at home will be interested in that. So it's all that to me is what it's all about. Is if somebody doesn't want to be sitting here and chatting, it's a waste of both our times.
Yeah.
So understanding that you've got something to say, hopefully I've got something to say, and the people out there watching will enjoy what we're talking about.
All right, it was really awesome to meet you.
A pleasure to meet you,
so
fellow
much.
underpants guy.
Oh, thank you so much, Bob. Have a good day.